looking so beautiful today like it was yesterday. Well, I guess y'all will tune in once things get started. Like I always start out, uh, it's your brother Isaiah again today with another video for all the brothers and sisters out there in the conscious community who love to keep the struggle, because we all know that it's through the struggle that we grow. Also, I like to say that it is a slow process for progress, and that race is not to somebody who's trying to move swift, but it is to those who can stay in this and endure what they have to go through for the longest, for the long haul, right? I'm not a legal counsel, and this is not legal advice I'm not a lawyer or an attorney. I'm just your brother. I just love to share my education and information with y'all about my walks and about my travels throughout my journey called life. And I like to extend all of these honors to you, because I know that when I honor man and woman, it's an honor of me honoring myself. I like to acknowledge Allah. He's the hidden temple of my life, and I like to extend that same courtesy to all his messengers and all of his prophets. Peace to all of you. It's a beautiful day. I'm really feeling good. I've been really trying to convey a message to the people, and I've been really trying to get something over to you, understanding like property. You know, it's like property is one of the main things that we really have to understand is what property is, okay? Once you start understanding what your property is, then you can start taking control of your property. See, they say that 90% of 90% of what is it? 90% of 90. It says possession is 90% of the law. That's what it is, and the other 10% is control. So you already have possession, right? Birth certificate. Now I'm gonna run it down to you. Y'all, I want y'all to just feel me out. You have a birth certificate in your possession. That certificate in itself is an equitable security. All right, it's equitable. That's why it's on bond paper, okay? Now, what's equitable about the birth certificate that you need to understand is that it has equity of anything that principle is being used on. So when you order electricity and they send you a bill in the name of that principle and you got that title, that birth certificate, that's entitlementship. So they're saying that the property represented in the debt that's being transferred to you, that you are the one that's entitled to receive the interest. Now you really need to understand what I'm trying to tell you. The interest aspects of things balance that's actually due to you. And the only way you can get that interest into your possession is by you having the right of acceptance, because you are the one that actually used the credit and basically drew from your principal in order for you to receive whatever you're trying to receive. You had to use somebody else in order to help you get what it is that you need for your personal use, right? So now when the goods are coming, all right, because you ordered the goods, right? Now, when the goods are coming to you, they transmit the goods to you by way of mail. All right, that's how you transmit. That's how you basically communicate. You know, like people say, well, you hold court through the mail. That's basically what they're saying, right? All right, all transactions are postal services. All right, when the postal services put their stamp on it, all right, it evidence that you did an acceptance. All right, from the time that stamp was placed on that instrument, once you put it into transmission, okay? Now, the thing that you need to understand about the goods is because you hold the title to the goods, it shows that you are the one that's entitled to receive whatever those goods have in them. So, but those goods you can't actually receive those goods even though you hold the title unless you accept it. Once you accept it, now the property in those goods can actually transfer to you, because the actual property is not the paperwork itself. The actual property is the interest represented by the debt. Now, what I'm trying to say is, like, okay, when I say every order for payment has an unpaid portion to it. And an unpaid portion of a payment order is the interest that's due on the other side of it. So it's like, all right, just think about everything that you do, you paying into some type of account. I don't care how you doing it. If you go to the store and you take cash out your pocket and you pay, you're paying into somebody's account, because when they take the thing out the store, they gotta make an account for it. So they gotta say that they on their books, they have to say that they received 25 credits from you, right? Because they didn't only get the $25 in the books, they got a $25 credit, because they had to put it on the books what was leaving the store, so it can be accounted for. It's an accounting system. So it had to be accounted for, so it had to go on to the books. So when it go on to the books, they receive credit. So the credit that they receive is payable back to the one that made the deposit. The depositor is the owner of that credit that they receive. You are the owner of the credit, so since you are the owner of the credit, you're entitled to receive it back as payment. But because of eminent domain, now if you study as much as I do, then you already know that eminent domain is in place all day, every day. Everything is under strict performance. The government is reserving all property in themselves. So that's like when you go and you get a car, you buy the car, that's why they say, well, you don't own the car. The state holds legal title to the vehicle, and they give you an equitable title to the vehicle. So they basically put all possession of all property, and the property is not necessarily the car. So when people talk about the state own your car, it's not necessarily your car that the state has possession of. What the state is having possession of is the interest in your vehicle. All right, they keep possession of the interest. They're in control of the actual legal title, which is also possession of the interest of the amount, full control. So the key is for us to get in possession of the interest that's on all of our accounts. You want the interest in the goods. You want the interest in the bills that's being sent to you, because when the interest is transferred to you, now you can renegotiate that interest. The interest is the unpayable portion. It's another type of money that can be used to actually pay and settle obligations. It can be resold. That's why, like, debt collectors and stuff like that, people want to buy your debt, because your debt is actually worth money. If they can get you to agree, they can transfer the interest over to them and actually receive actual payment of the interest that's actually due. Because really that's what it is. When they say you have a debt, all right, like when somebody say you owe something, right, what they're saying is that the interest in the debt, in the amount that's due, is payable. It's payable, meaning that you need to pay the bill, right? So, but we don't understand, because we think that we don't understand what that means when it says that the amount is due on this date. It's letting you know that a certain amount of can be payable on that date, and they letting you know that the amount that's due, but only you as the creditor can release the credit to actually make the payment. See, because when you pay with Federal Reserve notes or some type of legal currency is not considered as lawful consideration. Now, if you know that, then you know that when you use a Federal Reserve note, all you're doing is offsetting. You're basically giving something else in exchange for the actual obligation that's due, instead of you actually paying using the credit that's meant for you to use to pay the bill with and pay it and actually get rid of the debt, you would rather say, you know what, I'm gonna give you something else in exchange. It ain't lawful consideration, but it can be exchanged in exchange of an obligation, and all they do is take it and they put it into a what they call an escrow account, and they put it off to the side because you're substituting your obligation. It's because we was never taught how to do it. But what you actually need to do, you have to, in order for you to gain interest in the debt that's being transferred to you, because everybody already saying it, oh man, yeah man, they send you the bill, they put the coupon at the bottom, and you just doing it, you turn the coupon into a money order, and then you sign it, and then you put all the check, and then value and all this and that, and then you send it back. All right, but that's not working. And if you read contract law and you know contract law, oh, that ain't even necessary when you have possession of the goods in your possession and all the interest attached there too. Because if you hold the interest, then see, it's like this. Debt in the United States. Now, we just talking about the United States. In the United States, debt equals and money exchange for obligations. All right, so if you order some goods and you say you want to get electricity or you want to get service, first and foremost, the first thing that you need to understand is whenever they run your credit, when you do what's called a credit check to see if the principal can get approved for the amount that's being requested for the items. So they say, okay, well, we just want to run your credit just to see if you can get pre-approved. Okay. So now understand what they telling you, right? So we run your credit check is when they run for, and they the amount that you're basically, they going in and out. They must tell you right now, they don't want you to hear what I'm saying right now. They keep going in and out. But what I'm trying to tell you is this, all right, is that whenever you get approved for the credit, right? This is what you need to understand. A pre-approval meaning that your principal, which is your legal person, all right, meaning that he's pre-approved for the amount that they're saying that's due for what you want. When he gets approved and they say, oh, well, you got approved, you can get what you want. Remember when they do that and they tell you that you approve, what they're saying is they already have secured funds. They ran it to see if you can get approved. When they seen that they can receive those credits for pre-approval, they say, okay, you got approved. They took the credits. Now they take it and they secure the transaction. It's already secured when you get approved. And then what they do is they make you enter into another agreement with them, and they take to how you sign other things that they make you feel is really a part of what the approval is, when really the other things that they're doing and saying signing for this, well, basically when they take you past that pre-approval and they make you sign all that other stuff, right? Mark my words, they're trying to enter you into a payment agreement, right? Because anytime you contract with somebody and there's an obligation for a payment, now think, all obligations are due to who? The United States, right? So if it's due to the United States and you enter a contract and then it's an obligation of payment, that's an obligation to the United States. So now if you accept that obligation, what you're doing is accepting to have to pay in legal tender. Because the United States is only allowed to utilize legal tender. They are forbidden to operate in lawful currency. So when you know you've entered into an agreement under a United States obligation, which is enforced by way of legal tender, you have to know you have to object to that. If you don't object, if you don't assert your right, then you lose them. And the fact that you entered the agreement to pay and you didn't object because the obligation was due to the United States and you had a right of objection, but you failed to act. And when you fail to act, you enter a bona fide agreement. Now you got to either pay it, discharge it, you got to do some other sort of thing, but your principal is already approved. So all you do is you have to do something that's known as a rescission. All right, you rescind the obligation. What you do is you release your principal from any further obligations. Because if you take an insert as the creditor over the principal, and you say as the creditor owner of the contract, yeah, see, they going in and out, y'all. I can tell you right now, they just, they don't really want me to put this information out here, for people to know, like you got a right of rescission. And your right of rescission is the fact that any obligation that you enter into is already secured by the fact that the credit, the dwelling, your principal is securing you. Every obligation you enter, you're not going to get the car if you don't get approved. They ain't going to enter a transaction with you. They don't even want to give you an apartment or a house if you can't get approved. So they need the security first. They want to secure the transaction so they can have the goods in their possession already, and then have you enter into a payment agreement to pay back what they already have. So it's all about you understanding what's going on, and once you understand what's going on, you can effectively make the right moves within the right time frames, and you can actually effectuate change in your matters in the way that you're dealing. But you gotta know what every offer is an offer to contract, right? Every offer is an offer to contract. So the most important thing that we need to know is contract law. Everything is a contract. Man has a free will. Woman has a free will. Can't nobody force nothing. You're not bound to no man's institutions. Only by way of acceptance, of offering acceptance. Everything that's done to you is preceded by some sort of document. The courts, anything. So it's all about you understanding contract law, understanding offering acceptance, understanding how you can be able to take control of a contract, or be able to set new terms into an offer, and be able to put your offer before their offer, and be able to make sure that they have to operate to what it is that you want. And if they can't meet your agreement, then there is no agreement. See, you know what I'm saying? Because it's like, you can't force me to pay you something if I don't agree to that. You can send me something. You can send me anything you want to send me. I don't care who you are. We talking about fictions now. We ain't even talking about real people. We talking about fiction. We talking about Ameren. We talking about T-Mobile. We talking about these fiction contemplating and when you contemplate commerce or business. Now, we're not talking about human beings. All right. So now, this fiction send you a bill. It ain't never got a signature on it. It ain't never got nothing on it. All right. You hold the bill. You wait for about a week or two, then you want to say you're going to deal with the bill. You're doing it to yourself, because you have an obligation to act fairly, to do things within a reasonable manner, within a reasonable time. If we don't act within the time that's reasonable to do things that's fairly, then it's considered as a dishonor. You being dishonorable. So now everything that you're doing is considered as, you see, we do things because we've taught the Ben to put the paperwork on the side, and then we do other things instead of us focusing in on the things that we should be doing. But I'm gonna tell you right now, if you having a situation right now where you dealing with a so-called creditor, right? All right, and they sending you some goods, a bill or anything, right? All right, if you really look at the Bill of Exchange Act, the Bill of Exchange Act tell you about all negotiable instruments, and that whoever is the maker of an instrument, in order for him to transfer the instrument, he must endorse the instrument. So if the instrument is not being endorsed when it's being transferred to you, then somebody is not being liable or given true consideration or given a firm offer on the contract. And if they're not giving a firm offer, then you have a right to object. You have a right to refuse. You have a right to say that you want a firm offer, or you want it to have an endorsement on it. You know what I'm saying? Because you know that without the endorsement, there's no way that you can actually take possession of whatever this instrument is representing. If it says it's $500, the only interest that I have in it is $500. That to the amount of the face value of the instrument. That's why property, when you operate a bank account, you have a right to the property in that account. The property in your bank account is the interest that's being received every time you utilize that bank account. Whenever you're putting funds into that account, whenever you're transferring things into your account, you know what I'm saying? You are entitled to the property that they're receiving on the other side of the ledger from the deposits, because it's an equal opposite thing when you're dealing with debits and credits. They both operate on the same ledger. So if you got evidence of debits, you also have evidence of credits if you got bank statements of deposit. Now I'm trying to tell you, if you got evidence of a deposit sitting in your bank account, $3,000, $4,000 just sitting there every month, you ain't touching it. Every time you get that bank statement, the bank is telling you that they owe you whatever that amount is. They sending you the statement to show the amount that's in the account and the unpaid portion of it. The unpaid portion of it is the amount that's due, that only you can receive. But they not giving it to you because they holding it like, fiduciary. They holding it for your benefit. That's a good thing about it. They really an honorable act and hold it for you. But I think that it's time that you ask them to allow you to receive your benefits. Maybe make a notice or something and assert a claim. Maybe even provide some documentation to basically back up your claim, and then make a what they call it, a order. Make an order for you to basically receive what's yours. And it's the same way with anything else. It's just like with the courts. Anything that we doing, everything that I ever do, I ain't doing nothing that nobody else can't do, because I feel like we all have the capability of doing the same thing. If you a man or a woman and you a woman, and say you working a job, right? Now I'm a man, I got this job, and I know, I'm conscious, right? I know that Federal Reserve notes is not lawful consideration. It's legal tender, but it's not lawful. Now, as a man, giving my energy, or a woman giving my energy, giving my time, which I cannot get back, which is true value of who I am, and you not giving me true value in return, that damn contract is void. It is not real. It is a void contract. You cannot work for somebody and they pay you in Federal Reserve notes. That is not lawful consideration. That is a void contract. Once you realize that you are entitled to receive lawful consideration for your energy, if you make the right claims at the right time to tell these people that you are entitled to what's yours, if we allow somebody to pay us as if we're some sort of legal entity that can only receive Federal Reserve notes and all this stuff, if we allow that to happen to us, we're doing it to ourselves. If you're a man or a woman, you declare that, you go to court, you make a suit in equity, you bring your facts, you prove what you know is factual, and they have to prove that what you're saying is not factual. You win one suit in equity, then you can never be charged or considered as a legal person ever again, because they can never charge you the same for the same thing twice. So if I have to take a suit saying that I'm entitled to something and they treat me as something that I'm not, and I have to go against all these frauds and all this stuff, and I take them to a bankruptcy court, because I know they trying to charge all this money for federal court and all that stuff, but people don't realize, like the obligation for them to charge you is a fiduciary obligation. They do that what they call under what they call a bona fide fiduciary obligation. A bona fide fiduciary obligation is saying that I'm just doing my job within the confines of my job. That's how our job is set up. We have to ask for payment. Now, if you know your rights, then you know you ain't got to pay nothing. All you got to do is have the right type of notice to let them know that, you know what I'm saying, you object to have to pay anything, because you understand that that nobody can demand something that has to be due in gold and silver when they suspended the gold and silver clause. And you object to say that for y'all to demand me to pay in anything is a violation of public policy. I demand a discharge, sir. I demand that I talk to somebody in here that can give me an equitable discharge, because I don't have to pay anything. See what I'm saying? If you know your rights and you know how to assert that claim properly, they'll get you the right person. They'll get you the right form to fill out. You better believe it. You better believe it. If you do the right things at the right time, they're going to act right. Like people say, well, the debt collectors, man, they want it. No, they don't. If you do what you're supposed to do, if you don't never answer that phone and say you the straw man, if you don't never say you keep thinking you that name, and every time somebody asks for the name, you like, yeah, that's me, and keep thinking you the straw man, keep thinking you a name, and start understanding that's your property, and start understanding that anybody that's asserting your property to you, that they need your consent. So you need to be trying to figure out who on the other end of this phone is utilizing something that they not authorized to use. Where did you get that name from? Who told you can use it, sir? What is your name? What is your address? What's your social security number? You see what I'm saying? Because I need to identify with who's on the other end. So if you violate my property rights, then I can assert a claim against the right person. See what I'm saying? When you start talking like that, they click, click, click. They don't want to hear that, because now you know too much, right? Our thing is with us, man, is that we put too much time in things that don't matter, and the things that matter the most, we don't give enough time to. The most important thing you can do in this world is feed your mind. The most important thing you can do in this world is feed your mind, feed your spirit, feed within. All this stuff on the outside don't mean nothing if you don't have nothing on the inside. You got all this information, but you can't go stand in court because inside you weak. You don't have no strength. We have to have strength. We got to be able to be, and the only way we're going to be able to see, we can't believe in something. To believe in something is the absence of knowing that a thing is true, right? So we don't want to believe. We done with all that belief shit. We want to know the truth. Either we know or we don't know, and that's what it is. All right, forget all the believing, because to believe that means that we lacking something, because we don't know that it's true. But now when you know something is factual, you can actually do something with it. If I know that you've been tricking me in my name, then I can actually assert some claims and say, hey, wait a minute, something ain't right. But if I don't know that, I can't do nothing. So a man and a woman is responsible for what we know, but what we don't know hurts us and affects us more than anything, because we don't even know that we're being affected by it. You talking about you poor, but you don't understand that you got other property that's not being released to you. And it's all because we're not reading the agreements. We go and we sign these bank accounts and we sign to these accounts. We don't even get a copy of the agreement. We'll walk up out that thing and won't even have a copy. We'll go in there and they'll say, okay, well, sir, you need to fill this out. And you'll fill all this stuff out, put all your personal information on there, ain't really reading nothing, scanning through stuff, not really reading, and then allow these people to take the instrument that you and the bank is in a contract. You just signed the contract and let the bank walk off with the contract and don't even give you a certified copy. I done done it. I done it man. I used to do it. I ain't never tripped off of it until I started getting conscious. And then I think about it and I'm like, man, like it's just crazy, like how compliant we are, to the point to where we are so subservient, because we're being programmed by what we see on TV. We don't even understand that the TV is affecting us, and it's putting things in our mind, causing us to believe and think that things are a certain way. It's causing you to rationalize with what you call reality, because it's telling you a vision. because you watching television. You see what I'm saying? And it really affects us more than than anything, because we was already warned by former prophets and messengers of God that came and gave us messages and told us about this wicked world, about all the bankers and what they doing, and told us to keep our obligation to him, to stay faithful to God, to not worship images and statues and stones. We up here worshiping crosses, symbols, all kind of stuff. We doing everything that we know we ain't supposed to be doing. We supposed to be sticking to nature, and we not doing that. We done got so out of tune with nature that it's easy for me to believe that a man is a woman, because I'm so out of tune with my nature. I can't even feel the presence of a man because I'm out of tune. But if I was in tune with myself, I don't care how he look. He can have a sex change and everything. I can feel it in my heart. That's not a female. I don't care how much like a woman he look. He's not a woman. And see, when you're in tune with yourself, it's just like lions and tigers. They in tune with themselves. They in tune with their nature, with the earth. Everything operates according to its nature. We the ones that's out of whack. We eating fake food. We drinking fake substances. And we putting all this poison in our body. It's messing up our pineal gland. And we dying slowly of misinformation, miseducation, and we wonder why we can't get ahead. We don't trust each other. We don't listen to each other. We question one another's purposes and everything that we do. And then we wonder why God said that the meek shall inherit the earth. He said that the truth shall come from the mouth of babes. And who is the babes on the earth right now? Can you please talk to me for a minute? Who is the people that's in the worst condition right now? I just want to, because I know that God got a purpose for all people. But it's going to come through a certain people because they are ripe enough, they are strong enough, they've been through enough to accept that duty, that obligation to fulfill our purpose here. You see what I'm saying? It's real deep, man, because I went from a dude that was on the streets selling drugs, robbing, doing all kind of crazy stuff that I thought was cool, that I thought was life. I used to think that I'd never change. I'm going to be a nigga to the day I die. I'm a thug, this. I remember saying all that, right? But now I'm sitting on this screen right now, and here I am talking to you folks and talking about things that I could never imagine myself even having the knowledge of. To actually tell you you ain't have to pay your bill. To tell you that the bill is just an offer. Or tell you that, you know what, all you got to do is demand that they show you proof of payment, that they got the right to collect from you. Because if somebody send you a bill, yo, you just got to really think. You got to have a contract. If you say, you got to have some type of agreement in writing, especially if you billing me like $300-400. Man, hold up, Aaron, let me see the contract, because I don't remember signing nothing saying you can bill me for $300-400. When did we sign a month-to-month contract agreement? And you gotta really be rational and start really just thinking. And we're not thinking, because if we can really think, we can save ourselves. Because we're not bound to nothing but our own ignorance of what we should know. You know, I really want to say that, I'm gonna say this last thing, and then I'm gonna get up off this thing. I appreciate everybody that tuned in. I always try to, drop some jewels, but I also want y'all to know that this information is closer to us spiritually than it is anything. Once you really dig deep down into what sovereignty is all about, it's innate in who you are. All right, it's about you having a right to govern yourself, and no man or no entity or nobody having no right or claim over you before yourself. You only are bound to a man if you can't handle your own affairs. If you label yourself by the way you function as an incompetent person by the brotherly love, they have a right to govern you. Because you show that you can't what? Govern yourself. And that's what we have to do, because God said he'll bless us if we can hold our own. So we really got to start understanding what is our own. What is ours? Because right now, somebody else is trying to claim what's yours. And if it's yours, then you need to start making sure that you start getting what's due to you. These bills, these so-called debts, the interest in all of that is yours, because you have an interest in everything that came from something that was yours in the beginning. So if you have an interest in it all, then somebody's been holding it from you, because I ain't received no interest. Ain't nobody been sending me no checks. Ain't nobody been telling me that I can discharge my debts. Ain't nobody been telling me that I ain't have to pay no bills. Ain't nobody never wrote me and told me that a bill is a contract. Ain't nobody told me I had a right to object to that. Ain't nobody never told me none of these things. All they ever did was enter into a bona fide agreement with me. Then once they got into the agreement with me, they began to slander me and plunder me and take advantage of me, because they knew I was ignorant. Because if I was smart enough to know that when I got approved for the credit, that there was no further obligations, because approval means that it's over. You approved. Now when they enter you into the other agreement, it's an objection. Because for one, you can't pay in Federal Reserve notes anyway, because they don't have no value. You think I'm lying? Look up lawful consideration right now. In the United States, what is lawful consideration? And Google will tell you. Anything that's not of the Federal Reserve System, anything that comes from the United States Treasury is considered as lawful consideration, right? I mean, lawful tender. All your judges, all your so-called prosecuting attorneys, they getting checks in lawful consideration. They getting lawful money. But you getting Federal Reserve notes. So it's all about us knowing that we have to correct the wrong that's been done to us, and us being projected as some type of legal person, instead of us being able to be identified as the lawful men and women that's in control of these legal entities, and then be able to get the true value of what's due to the true man or the true woman, because we don't want to be misidentified in none of our activities. You don't want to, I'm telling you right now, you don't want to accept no bill if it ain't signed. If somebody send you a bill, it better be signed. Because if it's not signed, then who did it come from? Who's signing and saying that? Who's giving think about what I'm saying. Just think about somebody sending you a demand letter. They say, this is a demand of blah, 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 blah. And if you don't such and such, such and such, and we're going to garnish this and take that and take you to court, right? And it ain't got no signature on it. But check this out though, right? But just because it don't have a signature on it, don't mean that it's not enforceable by way of acceptance. All right? Now, so you got to understand that if somebody send you something, it might not even have a signature on it, right? Because they don't want to take consideration in the fact if you accept it, right? Because they know that it wasn't right anyway. So I don't want to put my hand cock and be responsible for, me making this offer. You know what I'm saying? If I violate this man's rights, so I ain't signing this. Now, if he's foolish enough to not rebut or not to reject it within a specified time according to the laws of the premises in which he lived, which he should know, because he's of the legal age, he's considered as of the majority. So he should be competent enough to know what's going on in the society in which he lives. Now, if you don't do that and do the right things within the right time, guess what? You got to pay that. You're going to have to do something. Because you had a right to act and you failed to perform. In the law, everything is considered as what they call every contract is a voluntary act, right? Because nobody can force you into a contract. All right, I can't force you into a contract. Ameren can't force you into a contract. Can't nobody force a contract on you. All right, contract operates by offering acceptance. All right, so evidently there are some offers being made, and there's some acceptance going on in some kind of way, to the point to where you don't understand, and you don't understand that that's why the only reason why you in a fulfillment of an obligation, because you misunderstanding what offering acceptance, because you don't understand commerce. And our misunderstanding of the information is the only reason why we are doing the things that are happening to us. I'm telling you real. I'm telling you what I know to be factual and true. If you change the way you think, you can change your life. Seriously. Because I'm every day I'm steady changing minds. Because I can't even say that I'm totally changed, because I'm constantly growing. And every day I grow more and more, I learn more and more. I feel a little bit different every day than I did the day before. Because I don't never wake up to feel that I'm the same man. Every day I'm a different man. Every day I die a different death and I rise again. Because I know that, man, I'm limited to what I can learn. You know what the good thing about your mind is? You can study all day long. You can read, long as you read it. Word for word, it's in your mind. Like, if you just learn how to just start reading, we don't like to read, but we need to read. One of the first things that's given to most prophets is to read. You gotta read. We gotta read, because when we read, reading is fundamental. It's something that it does with your brain when you read words, and you just constantly keep reading. And when you start, it just be in you. Like, I could just come out, you can ask me something, and I could just be pop, 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 because it's in her, it's locked in. You know, and that's what we want to do. We want to be able to spit it like a rap song. An old song that you really like to listen to, and you just know it from the top of your, right off the top of your mind. That's how you want to do it with this information. You want to be able to use it right off the top of your mind. It'll change your life drastically. I'm going to say this and then I'm going to go. All right. I always like to say my most powerful point for those that like to stay in it for the long haul. Because some people just want a short remedy real quick and then they be gone, I heard what he said, but those that really support me, that really stick in there through thick and thin, man, y'all my true fans, man, and I really appreciate that, man. And I'm going to do something very beneficial for all my true fans, because I know all the people that really, that really stick to me and basically support everything that's going on. Because they see that the individual that's before them has pure intentions, because I'm showing you things and giving you things that if you can utilize them in the way that they meant to be utilized, you would instantly start to see things start to happen. I put my life on it. If you use a lot of things that I put out, if you look at some of the stuff I put on my website, on my page and stuff, and you read some of that information, some of them things about like the Trademark and Protection Act, telling you how to trademark and protect your name and the interest that's associated with your name, because your name is property, and anything that's in your name, all the interest in that property is the interest is transferred in the name. So when if you get a house, the house is just the property, but the actual value of the house, all right? The actual value is the interest of that house. And that's the thing that I think that a lot of us, we don't really understand the interest aspects of the interest in houses. The interest is it's like an imaginary money. You know what I'm saying? If you can imagine that it's there, you can put your hands on it. Like, it's like, if you can't imagine that it's there, you won't never know it's there. It's like, I can't explain it, but it's almost like going between two different worlds and understanding that one is not really real and one is real. And when you start understanding that on the other side of things, which is the private side of things, because the physical side of things is always the things that we see, we can touch, we can feel, you know what I'm saying? Things we can actually like put our hands on, the tangible things. But the private side of things is like, your thoughts. That's private, you know what I'm saying? Your personal life, your family life, these are private things that are privately, held sacredly with each individual. And these are the things that we need to get more in tune with, the private side, like understanding publicly I operate as a legal person. but privately, I'm actually really a man. And as a man, I have certain basically violated. And once you start understanding that side of who you are, the private side, you can do the actual, you can start actually doing other things and being able to effectuate matters in a different way that can change the way that everything around you operates. And that's what you want to, be able to do. It's a lot of things that can be said, but they can't be said in this one video. I can tell you right now that nationality is one of the most important things that you can ever do. And one of the things that I feel, me personally, and it ain't because you're trying to be a part of nobody's organization or nothing. It's about you knowing, like, if you indigenous and you understand that, who you are and why being indigenous is a value that you must obtain in order for you to be able to effectively have whatever it is you desire. And once you start understanding that from that aspect, then you can actually really start doing things, because there's so many things and so many levels of misinformation that keep us from really being who we truly are and being able to assess and obtain that which is in store for us, that was already put in place for us to have, that somebody else is trying to say we abandoned. Because if you don't claim what's yours, you abandon it. So with that said, I leave you as I came, in truth, peace, freedom, justice, and equality to all, man. Y'all have a blessed and wonderful day. I hope I said something that can benefit those that really need it. And any misinformation or anything that I said that may have been wrong or not correct, you can charge that to me, because I'm not perfect. I make mistakes too. And with that, I'm out of here. Peace.